Hey guys, Robert Trimbath here, CTO for AIO Integrations. We're back with another installment for the Real Facts, our part of our CTO Consulting on-demand web series. And we're going to be talking today about how the target vectors are changing for cybersecurity. We're going to be talking about how you are becoming the new target of hackers and why, how. We're going to be talking about one of the most predominant ways they get across to people now. Um, and how what you can do to protect against it. How making you aware is, of course, one of the biggest protections you can do is to be aware. That's one of the biggest problems we face in cybersecurity right now is making end users aware, helping them understand the threat and how to avoid it. So one of the things we're going to talk about a lot of things, not just about that, but we're going to talk about why this industry is thriving. Ransomware has become a business. It is not just what it used to be, which is hackers looking for a quick way to make money. It is a full-on business model now, and there are businesses that do nothing but this. We'll cover that as well. So let's go ahead and get on with it here. Let's talk about the hacker's new best friend in attacking you, and that is the cell phone. Okay, cell phone, tablets fall into that same category, but I'm going to focus more on cell phones, and we're going to talk about some different ways they get in. Now, hackers have understood now that there are 8 times as many mobile devices as there are computers out there. In fact, some people don't even have computers anymore. They just use tablets and phones to manage their entire lives, and it's very easy to do that nowadays. So what are they doing? They're going after this because hackers have now decided that the easiest way into a company network is people. The end users are the weakest link, and they are the easiest to get after, and they only need one to get in and create the damage that they need to do in order to facilitate a corporate break-in. So I'm going to go over a couple of things and why it's important. Let's talk about a couple of ways they're getting in. One is the app stores, okay? App stores now, just because Google says that that's a certified app and it's safe to run, we all know, we see the news that that is not true. There are basically hacker programs that have been, or what we call skimmer programs that run and skim the information for your phone, like credentials, logins, things like that, for everything from your bank to your stuff at home. Those things are actually posing as legitimate software, and they're hitting people by the millions. Not a few, but by the millions. That's a lot. People have installed stuff thinking it was something else, didn't really check, and find out it's something much different and much more malicious than what they thought it was. Another way is QR codes. This is something that came out in one of the new conferences not too long ago. And that is, I know with COVID, a lot of people started going to these QR codes, like in restaurants and movie theaters and different places. You can scan them off commercials and a variety of things. And this QR code, you download a program called a QR code reader, and it's free. And it reads the thing and it reads this code. It redirects you to a website or a place, an app. It could be a number of different things. But one of the things they do is they redirect you to a website that's infected. Its sole purpose is to check your browser version, look for an exploit, and then move on to the appropriate target. So in other words, what they're doing is they're going after the user's base. They're going after, like for a restaurant. So a hacker would take and print a new one of these QR codes and place it, stick it right over the top of the old one, and no one would really know the better of it. It basically loads a malware package and then forwards on to the website it went on to, and it's too late at that point. You have a skimmer on your phone that is now skimming all your personal, your banking, and your business data as you use it in real time, and it basically is recording everything. So this is a 22nd century scanner, if you ask me. It's a theft device. Gives people access to your home, your files. We're going to talk about an easy way this spreads to businesses and why it's important to be very careful about what you put on your phones. I personally do not scan anything like this, any QR code in the public. If I am not 100% sure where that code came from, I'm not using my phone to scan it. Okay? And the reason why this is important is because and I'm going to give you an example. So they got into my phone, they're skimming my information, okay? Now I go on to my business network and I'm using Dropbox to connect some stuff at home with some stuff at work with my secretary, people in my department, whoever. This is data from 17. and it's very outdated. But I wanted to bring it in to illustrate the fact that 76% of Dropbox accounts back in 17 were actually infected by malware and ransomware. That is huge. How in the world do you stop this from happening? So you have your phone connected to Dropbox. Dropbox downloads your files across all your systems, office, your home, everywhere. And now you have this sitting on your computer in both places, your home and your office. You've now just infected two different networks or three, depending on how many you get into. And you now have a whole different set of liability and problems. Okay? This is what I meant about this being a business. So these guys know this. They realize that the mobile devices are a way into the network. So I'm going to show you two figures here, and I want you to pay attention to these two. One is the first, that 94% of all ransomware that has successfully bypassed antivirus software. In other words, it just went by it like it wasn't even there. Uh, doesn't matter. Phones, computers, whatever. It's just going right past it. The one thing that is on top of that that helps in a big way is cybersecurity training for employees or individuals. You can see this figure drops way down to here, down to 12%. And it's mainly because by making people aware of what they're looking at and what it can do, like we're doing today, you educate them and prevent them from making common mistakes that most people do when they just get busy. Now they're looking out and they understand it's something they just can't skip over. Now, this graph here was one out of our cybersecurity slide deck, and I want to show it to you because I want you to understand really what's happening in this sector and the fact that this is not just little guys hacking, what they can, getting what money they can from you. That's the way it started. So back in 18, this blue bar represents the number of attacks by thousands, okay? This bar right here, the light blue bar, is the average remediation cost per break-in. So I want you to see this payout was very low back in the beginning. Number of infections were high, in fact, highest they've ever been, but the payouts were very low. So the business, you know, was shaped much different during that time. Now, look what happens just the very next year. Hackers are now tested the ground and they feel more comfortable with it. So now the attacks have lowered, but look at the average remediation cost. It has jumped from 26,000 to $77,000 average remediation cost. It did that 1 year. Hackers are wising up and understanding that people will pay ransoms. So now they're going after bigger stuff. Now you look at 2020. Oh my Lord, has it gotten worse? It's the attacks have gone down a little bit, but man, look at the average remediation cost. $177,000 average remediation cost per incident. Crazy. So again, we've doubled year over year. This is now going into, I think in 19 it was 64 billion and it was 121 billion in 2020. I don't remember what the overall total loss was in 2021, but it was big. But the average remediation cost. So look, now the hacks are up. The overall hacks have gone up in 2021, and look at the cost of remediation, more than double. Just absolutely huge. And this is now that remediation average cost is $288,000. Average cost per user. And the reason why this is happening is because now they have organized into businesses. That's right, you heard me. Some of you guys have heard the term SaaS, software as a service. SaaS is a platform that allows people to kind of buy or rent a platform that's already built for it, what you do, what you're renting it for, and you just are leasing it from the company you're buying it from to use it for yourself. All right. Now we have what's called RAS, RAAS, ransomware as a service. What is really crazy about this is that these are mostly formed in outside countries, outside the U.S., because obviously something that like that would be illegal here. And then it basically allows business these people to group into organizations. They have offices. These offices are hiring hackers, remote and inside, and they get salaries, they get benefits, they work like normal people. But their job is to provide ransomware services to anybody that wants to buy them. So now, as an individual, I can go to this company and I can buy their services to target a company or another person. And for a share of what I get, or it just absolutely terrible. So how do we protect against this? They've now organized, they've become a business, they've gotten more efficient at it. They've got this double-edged sword where if I don't pay for the ransom, they'll sell my information. So I just need to get my information back from them, get it out of their control. There's all sorts of things that factor into your head on this, but the fact is this is growing and it's doubling every year, and we don't expect to see a decline in it because people just are not taking the proper precautions. So what happens? How do they get in through users? How do they socially engineer users? They get in through, phishing emails, clickbait pop-ups, URL phishing, you know, Google results that are made made to look legitimate, but they're not, and they go to infected websites. And all it takes is for the user to be distracted. You know, maybe it's an email from a friend with an unusual PDF attachment or picture. Uh, the stuff that's coming to them is very realistic. It looks like it's from who it's being sent from, and they get their butt burned. It's not good. So all these things usually allow, all it takes is that person landing on that web page, hitting a browser exploit, an out-of-date system that's not, you know, keeping up with the updates to protect against those things, unpatched software for security purposes. All that stuff becomes issues, okay? And of course, ineffective protection because, yeah, Norton can protect this. Yeah, think again. So all these factors combine to make the user vulnerable, and once he does, they own you. So be very, very careful about what you click on. Be aware of where it's from. Always check the from addresses and make sure they're where they're from. My rule, if I get an email from somebody that, is something suspicious, doesn't look like something they normally send me, I basically respond back and I say, hey, did you send this to me? And so far, 10 times out of 10 times, the person didn't even know it was sent. They got hacked themselves and it was using their address book to send stuff out that was malicious. So make sure you always report it to the right people. Okay. Now, let's say you do get hacked. Let's say somebody does get in. Um, it's a double-edged sword now. So let's say I backed up my data and I can restore all that data, no problem. I say, screw off hackers. I'm not going to pay you. I've got my data. Well, guess what? So do they. So now they use it. Now they use the ransomware part of it, or the what we call the ransom part of it, is more about getting your information back or destroying it rather than sharing it, so they don't get it. You, as a company, they don't get embarrassed out there. They don't have to worry about coming up with any liability issues, things like that that would normally come. So even though you got a backup, and even let's say you even have an insurance policy, you got a cybersecurity insurance policy. We're going to talk about ways they can get out of that. We're going to talk about ways that you need to protect yourself outside of that and make sure that you are well protected. Let's talk about what you got to do. All breaches have to be reported to the FBI within 24 hours. Okay? That means if you're a business, you get breached, no matter how small, you need to let them know. They're going to get in, assess it, assess who's responsible based on all available intelligence, and then they're going to produce a report for your insurance company or for yourself or both. And the whole point behind this is to determine who did it, why, and and how they got in. And once they do, they're going to publish that report. And I can tell you right now that if you intend to collect insurance on your insurance policy, then you better have these things done. One, your company has to prove that all employees attended a cybersecurity awareness program. Now, this is not a full-on program. This is just a snidbit, but that means paying attention, being tested, making sure they retain what they learned. That's very, very, very important. Secondly, you must prove that you're using proactive security policies like multi-factor authentication, and you have a firewall, that you're using everything at your disposal within a reasonable means for your company to protect your company. Okay? And here's a couple things a lot of people didn't realize. And I've actually had people go back, check their policy, and said, damn, you're right. And that is that if the breach was conducted or related to any kind of a state actor, so let's say a state actor acts and it's part of an attack that was from the Chinese government or a Chinese national, and they went after, Chinese people or similar. And, you're not going to get paid. If they're affiliated with a state actor or they are a state actor, they're not going to pay you. It also goes with company contractors, employees, ex-employees, so on. If it is created by, if that breach was conducted by any one of those people, you don't get paid. So these are reasons that all insurance companies right now are refusing to pay claims. They're not stupid. They're looking for ways to get out, and they're looking for you to do your part. So be aware of these things. Guys, that's all I got for you today in this. If you want to attend our full-on cybersecurity policy, where we actually go into awareness training, we go through emails, talk about what to look out for, you are very welcome to join us for that. We'll be happy to do that with you. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of our recording today. And we will see you next week on next week's recording. We've got some great topics coming up still. We still have 3 episodes, I believe, in the series left. And we hope to see you next week. My name is Robert with AIO Integrations. You can reach me if you got something you'd like us to cover for you. You can reach me at robert@aiointegrations.com. Have a great day.